start off with 3 cups of seafood broth. I'm going to put that on the lowest flame I can and just keep it warm. We don't want to get it too hot. We just want to keep it warm. Let that slowly warm up. So I've got a 1/4 pound of shrimp. I've cut them all in half. Just let them spread out a little better that way. I'm going to take a lemon. Give it a good roll. Squeeze that lemon juice in there. Season it with just a little bit of Greek seasoning. Got some chopped cilantro. Just going to let that shrimp marinate for a little bit. Now I'm going to take my mushrooms. It's not as large amount of mushrooms as you may think. They're going to absorb a lot of liquid, but they're going to cook down here in a minute. I like to take a little bit of beer. Just let it soak in that for a minute. Gives it a good malty flavor. Put that over about a medium heat. With a bit of olive oil. A little dash of Greek seasoning. And once you've started to cook away a little bit of the water, come in with a healthy bit of butter. I can't be out in the woods like I would like to be right now, but I do have a man cave. Everyone refers to it as the pink house. It started out its life as a playhouse for my girls, but as they grew older and became teenagers, they no longer had a need for a playhouse, so I took it over and turned it into my man cave. So if I'm here at the house, why am I not cooking in the kitchen? Why am I cooking in the pink house? It's because I want to show you that you can cook anything outside that you can cook inside, using either a campfire or a propane stove. I got this Coleman propane stove for Christmas when I was 14 years old. That means that I've been cooking on this thing for 36 years. Mushrooms are like sponges. They'll absorb all that malty goodness from the beer and the Greek seasoning. Starting to get a little soft. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit of my cilantro. To be honest, this is my first attempt at risotto. It's always intimidated me a little bit. And just to be perfectly honest, it's not something I really ever crave. I'll eat it 2 or 3 times a year and I'm satisfied. I really never craved it by the campfire anyway. One of the things about risotto is that it just takes a really long time. It's labor intensive. All right. Cooked out a lot of the water there. So now we're going to come in with our shrimp. Shrimp are very easy to overcook, so you want to get most of the juices out of here. At this point, remember you got this lemon juice in here. You just want to slightly, ever so slightly undercook the shrimp, because they're going to be sitting over here for a moment while we cook the rice. And we are going to throw them back onto the heat at the very end for about 5 minutes or so. So they'll heat up and finish off then, because it's, again, very easy to overcook shrimp. All right. So we're going to pull that off the heat right now. We want to use low heat for the risotto. Start with a little olive oil. Pull our onions. Now, according to the man that I learned this from, Rick the Backyard Chef, and I will put a link to his episode about this in the description because he is the professional. Like I said, this is my first attempt at risotto. Let's just see what happens. But anyway, you don't want to caramelize the onions at all. You don't want any color really. You want to keep them white, but you do want to sweat them out. So we're using very low heat, just the lowest setting that I can put my little stove here on without the flame going out. We just want to keep stirring them around and let them sweat out a little bit. If you're wondering why I'm using a wok, well, like I said, it's because I only want to show you things that you can cook outside at a campsite using a propane stove, and I find woks to be incredibly versatile because sometimes you do need non-stick. And although most of the time I do use cast iron on an open flame, that's what I actually prefer. I don't like cooking eggs for breakfast in cast iron. And risotto, of course, is the starch. That's how it gets its creaminess. So starch and cast iron don't do well. But I do use a wok on this stove. Not when I'm hiking, of course. Go in with just a tad more olive oil. The measurements I'll be giving you here tonight, you might get 2 servings out of this. A lot of recipes will tell you to chop the onions finely to where they're the size of the grain of the rice. I like chunky onion. And that's one of the things I do like about Rick is he encourages you to make it your own dish. Now, the episode I'll be linking to is mushroom risotto. As he encourages, and I also encourage you, make it your own. You know what you like. So once you've got your mushrooms starting to sweat out a little bit there, starting to turn color a little bit, get a little bit clear on around the edges, then we're going to take a cup of rice, kind of toast it, get that outer shell to start cracking a little bit. So you want the rice to absorb all these juices we're about to put in. We're going to crack the outer shell a little bit, make it easier. I like it soft. I don't like crunchy rice. I don't like crunchy spaghetti, crunchy pasta in any way. Now you don't want to put butter in at the very beginning because that will coat the rice and it won't absorb the moisture as easily. A little bit of oil doesn't hurt. I want to take about a ½ cup white wine. I'm using a Pinot Grigio. You can already tell the rice is starting to swell and absorb. Now, this is why you want to keep your stock warm. So you only want to put in a little bit at a time. Just a ladle or 2 at a time. You can see the starches already starting to release. It may sound weird, but that's just kind of exciting to me. I've always been intimidated by risotto. It's so, I mean, when you look at it on the surface, it's incredibly simple, but at the same time, I think it's one of those dishes that if you don't know what you're doing, it's really easy to screw up. I've had some really good risotto before, and I've had some really terrible risotto before. And I suppose that's true of everything, maybe. It just occurred to me, I forgot to add the salt. If the mic is picking up dogs barking in the background or highway noise, it's because I've got the doors open using this propane stove, of course. You also may hear some rain on the tin roof here. I often come out here in a rainstorm just to hear the rain on the tin roof. This does take a while. Low and slow is always best, though. I know my girls will watch this eventually. So for posterity, there is a little story I would like to tell them. And to everyone else as well. It's not just for their ears. I don't think it's any accident that on 3 separate occasions, a priest, a scribe, and a lawyer all asked Jesus the same question. What is the greatest commandment? And all 3 times, Jesus responded with the same answer. First, love God. Second, love your neighbor as yourself. That sounds so simple. And really it is, because if you do those 2 things, everything else just falls into place, really. Everything else that we argue and all the other rules and stuff that we argue and complain about. Yeah. And to me, it really is that simple. Love God. Don't be a jerk. You feel it really starting to change texture now. Take on that creaminess. Still plenty of crunch in that rice, don't get me wrong. Oh, that wind's really blowing. Oh, that'll cut out that cross breeze. Put in my last little bit of the fish broth. It's starting to thicken up here. I'm going to squeeze in the juice of a lime. Give that a little stir. Now let's see. Let's check on the texture of the rice here. Not far away at all. Definitely creamy. Okay. Now I'm going to come in just a little bit of color. Sprinkle in a little cilantro. Also, I want to give it some butter. Now is when you put in the butter. Make it all more creamier. Oh, that cilantro smells so good. 2 of my 4 daughters think it tastes like soap. But I love it. Oh, you see how creamy that is now? Now is the time. Now I want to add a little Parmesan. I'm using a 3-cheese blend, Parmesan Romano and Asiago. I'm going to add just a touch more stock there, just so we don't get it too dry. Still need to add the shrimp, mushrooms. I think we may be on to something here. Now, I told that story a little earlier to my girls. I'm going to tell one to everybody now. In case you didn't know, Jesus loves you. And he wants to hear from you. So if you're not the type of person that talks to him, I wish you would. And that's all you got to do, is just start talking to him. I said earlier I thought this would make 2 servings because I had cut it down so much. But I don't know. I think you could get at least 3 out of there. 3 healthy servings. I'm going to thicken it up just a little bit more. You know what? I think I'm going to call that done. Turn the heat off. I'm going to let that sit and rest for just a minute. Okay. We let it sit for about 5 minutes, and it certainly has thickened up a little bit more. Give that a little stir. Then I'm going to plate some up and go stand by the fire. Let's see what my first attempt at risotto ended up being. Oh, that is so creamy. Oh, the shrimp and the mushrooms and that rice. Oh, the rice is a little bit crunchier than I would normally like, but you know, for a first attempt, not bad if I do say so myself. Do a couple of slices of avocado in there. Oh, that is so good. Thank you, Rick, for your guidance and inspiration. And thank you for watching. As my health continues to improve, I promise there is more to come. But until then, I'm going to enjoy this. Goodbye, everybody.